welcome Dustin Dopirak to the show from the Bloomington Herald-Times, as joins us each and every week. Welcome, sir.
Hello, fellas. What's happening?
Oh, we've talked about a myriad of things. A great weekend of sports, first of all. College football games. We mentioned the Tennessee-Alabama game at Race Thompson. Trace Jackson Davis were down there celebrating. Got a picture in the locker room with the sheriff. Only thing, I'd have had me a cigar going, baby. If I'd have been them, I'd have had that cigar lit. That's the big thing there. But USC losing at Utah Saturday night. Another great game that went down to the end. I was able to catch that one. We were both in the press room trying to watch the end of that Tennessee game, but I was able to watch the end of that game. Then we had, Bubba Wallace in NASCAR on Sunday getting into a nice little, little pushing match is all it was, but some frustrations that you don't usually see to that level, where he walked maybe 100 yards from his car to the other wrecked car that he had wrecked him after they had a little issue. And, he gets about 10 yards away and drops the helmet with the gloves in. As soon as that happens, it's on. It's like it was on, but Kyle Larson never dropped his, and he's a much smaller dude. And he took a hard shove from Bubba Wallace, who went down to a knee when he come back out. He shoved him like five, 6 times maybe. And Larson just kind of kept turning away, walk away from it. Which was a smarter thing, because he's a small guy and he would have got his clock clean, number one. And number two, he just doesn't want to mess with any of that stuff, I would imagine. And then we've got Major League Baseball, which is going absolutely nuts, Dustin, because I haven't even mentioned, I didn't even mention that, Mr. Schutte. The Yankees, they're holding on barely, because Cleveland, if they were to beat them tonight, 3 out of the 4 remaining teams would be wild card teams. The Dodgers and the Braves are gone.
And the Mets.
And the Mets. Yeah, another 100. Yeah, I didn't even think about them because they voted so bad.
There were 4. The National League had 4 really, really good teams that I think could have won the World Series, and all 4 of them are out.
How did the Dodgers? It's not even possible that they lose this. One would think with the pitching staff they have. And San Diego lost one of their best players earlier in the year to suspension. He's not even playing with them.
Yeah, but I guess the thing about it is, again, baseball in a small sample size is wild, and it in a way it feels wrong, because the Dodgers beat the Padres by 22 games. 22 games is absurd. That's run away crazy. But you play a 5-game series, and it can go wrong. The Padres roster is still really, really good, and the Padres pitching is still really, really good. Just when you throw the names down, for their starters, you're like, okay, all right, well, they got Blake Snell, they got Joe Musgrove, they got Yu Darvish. I can't even remember who started game 1, but that's who beat them. That's who beat the Dodgers: Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove. Is there any shame in that? There's any shame in losing 3 games in a row to Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, and Joe Musgrove? There really isn't. And then you look at the rest of that roster, it's Juan Soto, is in there. Manny Machado. The Padres, they are they're an underdog because they fell behind by 22 games. But, they went and made the biggest moves,
They tried to win. They wanted to win.
Juan Soto is massive. Juan Soto is, he didn't have a great finish to the year, but, Juan Soto is a generational talent. He just is. And Manny Machado is one of the top, at worst, 20 players in baseball. He's terrific.
I know TV doesn't want to see it, but
it's weird, and I feel weird about it from a sort of baseball traditional standpoint, when you have 3 teams that win 100 games. St. Louis has a terrific 93 win season. Wins its division healthily,
and it's St. Louis.
And it's St. Louis, and they ride Pujols and Yachty and Wainwright into the sunset, and they have all kinds of just good feelings around that franchise for the season, and they go down, and everybody goes down. It is what it is. It's just this is the new playoff format. It's just going to be weird to see an NLCS with the 5 and 6 seed with 2 teams that didn't win 90. But hey, at the end of the day, both of them had to beat. San Diego had to beat the Mets and Los Angeles. Philly had to beat St. Louis and Atlanta. So, on some level, you're like, all right, well, this is just weird to have these groups there. But, they didn't come by it cheaply. It's not like there was it was a 1-game wild card. I mean, they had to win a 3-game wild card playoff and then a 5-game divisional series. And it's just like, okay, like on one hand, you're like, I don't know if I feel great about this in the first place, just eliminating all those great teams, but they had to earn it. Like, it's not like you could fake it. And again, they both have talent, and they both have talent they spent money on, like, a lot. I mean, Philadelphia has Bryce Harper. Like, both of these franchises have just had exorbitant, not free agent signings, but have gotten top of the line class players. And so it shouldn't be, like in a small sample size, obviously those guys can get you. I mean, Philly can throw out Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler at you, and that gives them a crack at it, and so they managed to get both of those teams and better team, but so it tells you obviously that the top, quarter of the National League was really, really talented. And even if one group of teams was beating up everybody throughout the season, in a 5-game set, they can get you. So, I mean, as much as you're going to look at it and say, well, whoever comes out of there and has to play either Houston, New York, or even Cleveland, who had a terrific, end of its season, they're going to have to be heavy underdogs. Well, like, again, San Diego can throw a roster at you that can beat you. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So it was wild. It was crazy. And again, like, from a, value of the regular season standpoint, there's something like a little bit like that doesn't sit right with me about it. But on the flip side, like, just look at that roster, forget its record, look at San Diego's roster and look at Philly's roster. Like, what reason do you have to not think that they can hang with whoever the American League could throw out there?
This sounds very bitter Braves fan, because it is, but yeah. I've learned that the bye in the wild card round really doesn't have its benefits. I don't know. This is obviously not a very large sample size, but it's going to be very interesting to see, because baseball is such a momentum sport.
Yeah.
And you're throwing something out there that you don't really experience in the regular season, having 4 or 5 days in between your last game and then your first playoff game. Maybe even, I don't remember what it was for the Braves. Might have been 6 days. I don't know that was a factor, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, just because I'm bitter and wanted to see back-to-back World Series, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's 100% fair. It's just I think all that time off makes a difference. Like you said, baseball is such a rhythm sport. You get used to playing every day.
Yeah.
And so there's I guess they've sort of not narrowed it down, but basically just they're calling it rest versus rust. The baseballs in terms, and they were like, so okay, like, what's the record for the rest teams? What's the record for the rust teams? And obviously in the National League, rest rust won out basically, more or less. It was the teams, that had 3 to 5 days, off to not play any baseball. It was a struggle. And, I think there's momentum is a thing. And like, for I think San Diego and Philly, in both cases, they played 3 wildcard games on the road. And, then you come back and you play 2 divisional games on the road. Mm-hmm. So when they finally got back, it was a madhouse in, I think, both of those places. I mean, I didn't see Philly as much, but Petco was nuts. I mean, nuts. It was a rock show at San Diego, in games 3 and 4. I mean, like, it was just like, it was a buzzsaw. And it was like, all you had to do was sleepwalk through 1 home game, and then you were in trouble. You know, if you were the favorite there, like, if you came in like, because Los Angeles was like, all right, well, we should be in the World Series. So, like, we're not. And I mean, the LA fan base gets more hate than it deserves. I mean, I think, that there is this sense that no one really cares about it. They care. They really, really care. But they'd been in the playoffs for how many years? Like, game 2 of the NL Division Series is not like a life-changing moment in Los Angeles or San Diego. It's something they've been waiting for like, I don't know, 20 years, it's like 06. So they were rocking. And it was just like, I mean, LA just looked like it got its head, the ceiling was coming down on its head, basically. It was like everything was just like, oh my God, we're going to lose this. Oh my God, we're going to lose this. And it was just, there was this like just pervasive sense, and I've got like one, a friend of mine, I guess he was former IU professor. He's really tight with Galen Clavio. You guys know him. Matt Zimmerman's a big Dodgers fan. And I always tease him on Twitter at night because like he's always doom and gloom on the Dodgers. And I'm like, yeah, your team won 110 games. Like, what is your problem? But it's like after game 2, he's like, we're done. Like, there's no chance. And I'm like, oh my God, Jesus, take a breath. Like, you know, and I grew up rooting for the Pirates. So I'm like, you guys are obnoxious. Anybody wants to talk about being dead, you guys have no idea what that means. But like, you know, I'm like, come on, like it's game 2. You guys are going to San Diego. You'll be fine. You guys won 100 something years. Like, no, they're screwed. They're done. And they were, you know, and they went to San Diego.
And they were.
Feeling came down on their head. It was incredible. And so, yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, all of those factors made a big difference. So obviously, again, first year with this format, but like you get a sense like, okay, well, like what are the parameters going to be? What are the factors going to be that you're going to have to worry about? And like going forward, if you're the favorite, you know, you're going to have to look at some of those things, like, or not even look at it, just be prepared. They're like, all right, like you really got to win those first 2 home games that you're going to have if you're going to have a bye. I mean, because if you're going to go, you know, back to their place and they can beat you at their place, you know, their fans are going to be sky high. They're going to be just off the charts, and that's going to be a thing you're going to have to work with. Yeah. Who swept the 101 Mets? The Braves? I guess so. Yeah. I guess because the Padres went to 3, right? The Mets won 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, no, I mean, still. But yeah, no, I mean, Atlanta had a hell of a year. Atlanta had a hell of a year. The Mets had a hell of a year. The Dodgers had a hell of a year. St. Louis had a hell of a year, and they're all out.
It's nuts. And TV does not, like I said, TV hates this because now they desperately want the Yankees to stay in this.
Oh, yes.
Desperately want the New York TV market instead of the Cleveland TV market versus Philadelphia, San Diego, and
I'll say this though. I mean, like, I don't think like I'm thinking back to years when Cleveland was really good. Like, you remember the really good Cleveland teams? Were they such like a TV embarrassment? I don't think so. You know, like, I mean, I watched Game 7, Marlins Cleveland. I absolutely did. You know, and like Cleveland's had some teams now, and I think Cleveland will be jacked about this. Like, I get the idea that, oh, well, you know, it's got to be big markets, and you know, like it's got to be the Yankees every year, it's got to be the Dodgers every year. I mean, Cleveland's going to get like the stupid, like if the Indians get to the World Series, they're going to have a stupid market share at that place. Like everybody in Cleveland will have its TV on, and I guess that's not the same as having even half of New York's TVs on, but still. Cleveland that won't be a bad deal. Like Cleveland will get up for it.